Imagine looking up at the sky over New York City. But instead of the familiar skyline of freedom, giant metallic zeppelins cast massive, suffocating shadows over the silent streets. The Statue of Liberty is gone. In her place stands a colossal monument of cold, gray concrete, a symbol of absolute and terrifying obedience. The year is not what you think it is. The world you know never existed. What if the darkest timeline became our everyday reality? What if World War II ended with the complete and absolute victory of the Axis powers? Welcome, fellow travelers of history. Today, we are stepping into the chilling shadows of a terrifying alternate universe. We will explore the haunting reality of a world where democracy fell and tyranny reigned supreme. If you are ready to uncover this dark timeline, stay with me. The truth of what could have been will send shivers down your spine and make you question everything you thought you knew about freedom. The nightmare begins not with a massive explosion, but with a terrifying silence. It is the summer of 1940. The beaches of Dunkirk are painted with desperation. In our timeline, a miracle occurred here, allowing the British Army to escape and fight another day. But in this dark reality, the fog never rolls in. The evacuation fleet is destroyed before it can even cross the channel. The entire British expeditionary force is surrounded and captured, leaving the island nation entirely defenseless. Within weeks, the skies over London are blackened not just by endless waves of bombers, but by thousands of paratroopers descending like a plague. The British resistance is fierce, courageous, and utterly doomed. Prime Minister Winston Churchill delivers his final defiant address over the radio, his voice crackling through the static, vowing to fight on the beaches and in the streets. But mid-sentence, the transmission is abruptly cut. The silence that follows is the sound of the free world taking its last gasping breath. Across the English Channel, foreign banners are raised over Buckingham Palace. Europe has completely fallen. With the West entirely secured, the endless mechanical war machine turns its terrifying gaze to the East. The invasion of the Soviet Union is launched earlier, and with overwhelming, undivided force. Without the distraction of a Western front, the invading armies push relentlessly across the continent. Moscow falls before the first snowflakes of winter can touch the ground, denying the defenders their greatest ally, the freezing cold. The vast, bitter plains of Russia become a massive graveyard for the Soviet dream. The Red Army is fundamentally broken, its remnants scattered into the frozen Siberian wastelands, fighting a hopeless guerrilla war that will last for decades. The world watches in absolute, paralyzing horror. Two great empires have been utterly erased from the map in less than 2 years. Across the Atlantic, the United States stands alone. The shining city on a hill is suddenly an isolated island in a world consumed by absolute darkness. The American people are gripped by a suffocating, paralyzing fear. The oceans, once thought to be an impenetrable shield, now feel like a very small moat. The attack on Pearl Harbor still happens, but the outcome is far more devastating. With Europe fully under control, the victors combine their naval and industrial might. The American fleet faces an impossible two-front war against the unified armadas of a conquered world. The United States fights with the bravery of a cornered lion, but the mathematical reality of industrial production is undeniable. The combined resources, raw materials, and stolen wealth of Europe, Africa, and Asia are simply too vast for one nation to overcome. Then comes the fateful day, a day that is burned into the memory of every surviving American. The sky over Washington, D.C. fills with experimental, terrifying jet bombers, a technology decades ahead of what the isolated Americans possess. The capital is systematically reduced to rubble. The unthinkable happens. The United States of America, the great experiment in liberty and democracy, unconditionally surrenders. The treaties are signed in the smoldering ashes of the Capitol building. The map of North America is brutally redrawn in blood and iron. The continent is partitioned to serve the new masters of the globe. The eastern seaboard, from the forests of Maine to the beaches of Florida, falls under the iron grip of the new regime. The west coast is handed over to the Pacific Empire. The vast stretch of the Rocky Mountains becomes a lawless, impoverished neutral zone, a desolate buffer between two tyrannical superpowers. Everyday life in this new America transforms into a suffocating nightmare. The vibrant, chaotic energy of American cities is replaced by a terrifying, enforced order. Times Square in New York is completely stripped of its glowing advertisements, replaced by massive, blood-red banners draped across the towering skyscrapers. The streets are perfectly clean, but they are patrolled day and night by heavily armed secret police. The fear is palpable. It hangs in the air like a thick, toxic fog, choking the life out of every interaction. Neighbors turn against neighbors out of pure survival instinct. A simple whisper of dissent, a misplaced joke, or a suspicious glance can lead to a midnight knock on the door, and those who are taken away in the dead of night are never, ever seen again. Trust, the very foundation of human connection, is completely eradicated, but the true, profound horror lies in what happens to the minds of the next generation. The American education system is entirely dismantled and meticulously rebuilt as a psychological weapon. Children are taught from the moment they can speak to despise the values of their ancestors. The words of the Declaration of Independence are mocked and eventually burned in massive public bonfires. History books are entirely rewritten to portray the Founding Fathers as corrupt, weak, and foolish men who led the country to ruin. Imagine the unbearable sorrow of a grandfather, sitting in the dark of his living room, whispering the preamble of the Constitution to his young granddaughter, terrified that the secret police might be listening at the window. The memory of freedom is slowly, methodically being erased from the human consciousness. The past is dead, and the future is a boot stomping on a human face forever. Culturally, the nation is hollowed out. Jazz, blues, and rock and roll are strictly banned, deemed degenerate art. The vibrant tapestry of American culture is replaced by rigid, soulless military marches and state-sponsored propaganda that blasts from public loudspeakers on every street corner. In this dark reality, technology advances at a terrifying, unnatural pace. Without the moral constraints of a free society, scientific research becomes a grotesque pursuit of ultimate, godlike power. The sky is filled with the roar of commercial jetliners and massive transport rockets, long before they existed in our timeline. Highways are expanded to move military equipment at lightning speed. By the early 1960s, the impossible is achieved. A man walks on the surface of the moon. But as he steps onto the lunar dust, there is no message of peace for all mankind. He plants a flag of tyranny, claiming the cosmos itself for the empire. It is a moment of dark, awe-inspiring wonder, a testament to what humanity can achieve when driven by pure, unadulterated ruthlessness. The stars themselves look down upon a planet entirely wrapped in chains. Orbital platforms are constructed, hovering over the Earth like mechanical eyes, ensuring that no rebellion can ever spark without being instantly crushed from the heavens. Yet, human nature is a stubborn, beautiful thing. The desire for freedom cannot be entirely extinguished by propaganda, fear, or secret police. Deep in the Appalachian Mountains, in the dense, rainy forests of the Pacific Northwest, and in the forgotten, ruined towns of the neutral zone, a different kind of fire burns. The resistance. They are vastly outgunned, hopelessly outnumbered, and hunted like animals by elite tracking squads. But they fight. They operate hidden radio transmitters in damp basements, broadcasting fragmented messages of hope and forgotten history into the endless night. They sabotage military supply lines, risking unimaginable torture for a microscopic chance to strike back at their oppressors. Every derailed supply train, Every intercepted message, every small, silent act of defiance is a bold declaration that the human spirit refuses to die. The resistance fighters know they might not live to see the dawn, but they are entirely willing to burn themselves up just to be a single spark in the overwhelming darkness. They pass down hidden artifacts, an old American flag folded perfectly in a dusty chest, a banned novel, a photograph of a world that used to be. These small items become sacred relics of a forgotten religion called liberty. This alternate timeline is a deeply terrifying vision. It is a nightmare from which we are incredibly fortunate to have awakened, but it serves as a chilling, vital reminder that we must never ignore. Freedom is not guaranteed. It is not a permanent state of nature that will simply exist on its own. It is a highly fragile, precious thing that must be guarded, fought for, and deeply cherished by every single generation. The history we know, the timeline we live in, was written by the blood, sweat, and unimaginable courage of those who stood bravely against the darkness when the world was on the brink of collapse. We must never forget the heavy price they paid to ensure that the giant zeppelins never cast their shadows over our cities, and that the light of liberty continued to burn bright. If this journey into the dark shadows of history sent a shiver down your spine and made you appreciate the freedom we have today, please hit that like button right now. Your support helps us uncover more of these incredible historical mysteries and alternate realities. And if you want to explore more mind-bending historical what-ifs and deep dives into the hidden corners of our past, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Join our growing community of history travelers. Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and never, ever take your freedom for granted.